keep praising your name. I don't care what these people gon' do, what these people gon' say, what these people gon' bang. We out here making disciples. We in the world, but we can't be the same. Okay. So I went for my hand on the Bible, speaking the truth.
Welcome back, everybody. It is May 11th, currently 9:47, and we are about to start episode 14. Sorry I'm not as lively as Ben. When I start the podcast, I have to focus. I have to read the notes in front of me, so... Also kind of tired. It's late, so we're going to get to it, try to make this quick, talk about some different things. Our original plan was to be in here with Chase, but hate to spoil it. Chase is going to be committing here soon, so we kind of just wanted to wait until after he had committed to come onto the pod. That way he could talk about his weekend and talking to the coach and all that. So we'll get Chase on soon. We'll be excited to have that conversation, get to learn a lot about him. Honestly, I've known him for about a year, but still have a lot to learn about him, so getting him in here, sitting down with me and Ben will be fun. Get to ask him a ton of questions, but for now, you just get to listen to me and Ben tonight, sadly. So,
yeah, we're back, baby. We're back.
Yeah, the plan now is to talk about the junior high season. We had our sports awards tonight, and that was real quick and easy. Got to kind of brag on all the athletes that Jonesboro School has. Every year that I've been a part of it, I mean, since junior high, the table there is filled with conference and regionals and even state plaques and, trophies. So, Jonesboro always has good athletic programs, and it's always good to dedicate a night to those kids. So we'll kind of dedicate, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes, kind of sit here and talk about our junior high team, and then we'll talk a little bit of NBA, and I think Ben's got a piece of, you got an excerpt you want to talk about?
Yeah, we got a Bible verse we're going to read at the end. We just really wanted to dive in a little bit deeper on the sports awards at those awards nights, especially because we do all the sports from all year long, all in one night. I wanted to keep it short and sweet, so we both kind of sat there after Chase said he wasn't going to be able to make it. We're like, what are we going to talk about? And we were like, well, we could definitely go into more depth about the guys we had this year, especially the 8th graders and the future they're going to have.
Yeah, really just the 8th graders, maybe a little bit about the 7th graders that are going to be 8th graders next year, but, just kind of give those guys their kudos, and I'm sure they'll listen to this. So
I hope so.
We'll say some nice things about them.
Yeah. Got to start with MVP for Jonesboro this year. Led us in points, rebounds, steals, blocks, assists.
Probably deflections too.
Yeah, he was by far the leader on and off the court. Gavin McFarland, little brother Aiden. I got to watch Aiden grow up in the gym when he was,
with me,
7,
really.
7, 8, 9, just be old enough to dribble the ball, coming in with Coach Mike, and then watching Gavin grow up.
I did that same thing with Gavin. Yeah, little Gavin was he was a turd. Let's call him that. He was a turd for sure. He liked to come in there and raise a lot of.
And 6th and 7th grade Gavin they call him Grandpa for a reason. He has the skills, and he's tall, semi-athletic, but he just kind of does everything slow or bent over like old Grandpa.
Yeah, it hurts.
This year he really came into his own. Obviously growing always helps, but the skill matched, and he never backed down from any challenges. He was, like I said, a leader on and off the floor. If you ever needed somebody to calm the team down, get the team hyped up, you could go to Gavin. And when you can go to a player like that, it's really nice.
For sure. And he's very mature, which is not something you get to say about a lot of junior high kids. So he knows how to turn the lock-in switch on and off really, really quick. So that was probably something that he's always had, but I really saw this year for sure, and something that I really liked a lot. So
he had that Cooper flag edge where it's just, his competitiveness every single night made everybody else want to compete just as hard as he is.
For sure.
And obviously he has the size and skills and athleticism to match up and, compete with anybody, which makes everybody else get the confidence to go out there and compete with anybody.
Yeah. And he just plays so hard. So
yeah,
it's
exactly.
An energy thing. And
so when you can do literally everything, you can understand why we would call him a Cooper flag kind of player. Next up was our defensive player of the year. This guy could have been up for, he could have been MVP. He could have been a lot of different awards. But he got this award for basically for one game in particular, but for his effort this season and being second in almost every stat as well.
Yeah. And you can say that, but he also had a couple other games, like the OLMC game, I remember for sure, where he's picking up their best kid full court. I feel like there's other games throughout the junior high season where he was picking up kids full court. Not to mention the regional game with Walker for sure.
Yeah.
But
You weren't there for the Cypress game, but Blake Wells was our Defensive Player of the Year this year. But the game where we went to Cypress during the regular season, and through 3 quarters, we held a player that scored, 1,500, 2,000 points, something like that.
1,500 for sure. He was
1,500 points in junior high, and we held him to I think it was 11 through 3 quarters.
The first time you guys played him.
The first time we played him, and Gavin got in foul trouble early, so we ended up putting Blake on him, and Blake was the perfect matchup athleticism-wise. And so just having somebody that's that strong but also that quick, and that, he's a smart guy, so he can go grab a good he's really good at reading rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's fully engaged and locked in, he is an unstoppable force getting to the basket, and he's a wall on defense.
Yeah.
So he was stepped up for us and guarded their biggest guy, their fastest guy, their best guy in multiple different games. And so he definitely earned that spot. And like I said, he could have been up for, all 5 8th graders could have been up for almost all 5 of these awards. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot I could say about Blake besides just defense.
And Blake was one of those kids whenever him and Gavin were younger that was also pretty slow and non-athletic. And so to see the turnaround that he's had, I remember having the conversation with him, and I think Zach Spurlock and maybe Caden Gurley and a bunch of other kids whenever they were younger about, as you grow older, and you work out and you get stronger, if you have a little extra weight as a kid, you turn that into muscle. And that's something that Blake has done, Caden has done. Even Zach did too. And kudos to him, kudos to those kids for understanding that all you got to do is work hard. You just got to work hard, push yourself. I think Blake definitely did that, and he still has his moments. He had a moment, not this past AAU tournament, but 2 tournaments ago where he got kind of hot-headed, and I had to calm him down a little bit. But in that same game, he ends up scoring he ends up going 7 for 7 from the free throw line and scoring a 2 in the last minute of the game and scoring 9 points to seal it. So Blake's also just made such a big jump, and kudos to those two, because I think those two are only 2 8th graders that played the entire time. So varsity and the entire time, though.
All 4 years, 5th grade through 8th grade.
Yeah, Camden came from Lick Creek. Drake didn't play for a year or 2, and then Graydon's only year was this year. So those 2 were our 2 that had played all 4 years, and you could really see a big turnaround in them. So,
6th man of the year.
Some kid in the chat said Blake Wells locked me up a couple times. He's pretty athletic, so.
6th man of the year, somebody who started the year as a starter and ended up filling in a bench spot that we really needed. He started multiple games this year, but he was always that guy you can come in off the bench and count on to bring energy, hustle. He's probably going to get a foul because he's just going hard.
Or 2.
Quick, too.
Yeah.
A quick 2. But when you put him out there, you're like, Drake, go get that guy. He's going to go get that guy.
Yep.
But Drake Penrod was our 6th man of the year. His mid-range jump shot, lethal.
Yes.
He had a lot of games where he was a big plus on defense. And then he had a lot of games, especially at the beginning and towards the end, where he was a big plus on offense, where we really needed that extra help, that extra jump shot, that extra steal to a layup.
Yeah.
That guy who's going to do a backdoor cut and finish the layup. Those are the little things that he would really fill in, because he's not the biggest kid, but he's really strong for his size.
Yeah, and he's one of those kids that, like I said, didn't play all 4 years or all 3 years, however many you want to count it. And had he would have been a lot more confident, which just would have made everything so much better. And I think that his best games and his best times this year were when he was confident, whether that was himself feeding his confidence or our team feeding his confidence, it doesn't matter. But the games where he played the best were whenever he was confident on the floor. And I think that if he just had played, I don't know if he didn't play 6th or 7th grade year, or just one of those 2, I can't remember. But had he played one or both of those years, I think it makes that much of a difference. So, but kudos to him for stepping into that spot and filling it really, really well. And even whenever we did have to start him in other games, he filled that spot pretty well too. And always got his 2 fouls. So
always. You count on it. But those are good fouls.
Or 5.
You get 5, you might as well use a couple. Hustle Award. This award could have been called a lot of different things.
And it could have gone to any of any of the five.
And
Really.
like I said, all five could have gotten basically all five of these awards because at different points of the season they all did different things. And so Camden Knieven, our move in from Lick Creek, we were really excited to get him in, and I'm really excited that I got to be a part of his life and be a part of his basketball journey because especially when it's junior high kids. So I'm not, hating on anybody when I say when they're at their best or when they're locked in, but like when he is bringing that energy and he's joyous and he's smiling and he's laughing, he's high-fiving, and he's running around when he's not playing with pressure.
Yep.
He is a dog. He is an energy bringer. He's a battery for the team. And he's one of those guys that's a true X factor.
Yep.
I almost wanted to call it that, but I felt like Hustle Award gave him a little more respect because he really did get out there and get after it, especially in big-time games, big-time matchups, any of the rivalry games. He was definitely there to get down and get after it.
Yeah, and I feel like you mentioning that it was whenever he was playing without pressure is such a key thing, and I hope that if Camden listens to this or any of the kids listening to this podcast or in the live right now, you've got to learn to play without pressure. And Camden hadn't played basketball for probably a couple of weeks, maybe even a month, organized, and then joined our AAU team this past weekend and helped us out for a game because we only had 4 players, so we needed one more. And, there was no pressure. He hadn't practiced with us. He hadn't played with us. Nobody, came to watch him. He just came up there by himself with his cousin. So there was no pressure at all for him to perform or to be amazing or to play perfect. And he ended up being, besides Gavin, the second best player that game in terms of bringing the energy. I can't tell you who the best player was because we only had 5 kids and they played the entire game. So they all played great. But in terms of the runouts, like he was the kid catching the ball on the fast break and scoring a layup. And it kind of helped that the other team had black jerseys on. He had a black T-shirt. So like he was confusing everybody and getting runouts. But, he hadn't played in so long, and he came in and played without pressure and just ended up having a pretty good game to the point where the kids wanted him to come back and play that night. So shout out to Cam, and there's a lesson for any of you guys listening. Play without pressure. Try not to put any pressure on yourself to perform great or perform, to the best of your abilities. Just play. Just let it happen. Let the game come to you. So,
Bulldog Award. We have a first-time basketball player we talked about a little bit is Graydon Marks. It was so fun having Graydon on the team this year.
Even at the awards, whenever you were talking about him, he was like sitting there smiling and couldn't sit still.
He reminds me of like a little happy puppy dog. Like the thing I love about dogs is that every time you come home, they're just so excited to see you, and that's Graydon. Anytime somebody else does something good, Graydon's the first one to hop up and high-five him and cheer for him. Yeah. He's also going to give him a little crap and, make a joke and make everybody laugh. But that's just, you need somebody like that where he's there for the ups, he's there for the downs. He's going to go pick somebody up, and when you tell him to do something, he's going to try his very hardest at whatever it is.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, Austin Reeves just hit a crazy shot. But, no, that is great. And, I mean, it probably took like a week, maybe 2 weeks into the season. And then when we would walk into practice, he'd be like, "Hi, Blake. Hi, Gary." Like, all excited and having so much energy. So you need those kids for sure. And I hope all these kids go try and play high school basketball. But I really hope Graydon does too, because I feel like he can be one of those guys that can bring the energy for sure. And if he doesn't end up playing, I can promise you he will lead the student section. I can promise you. He's already showed up to some of our AAU games and been cheering, and nobody does that. So love Graydon.
That dude.
I'm glad that he came out this year.
His improvement was real. Like, he's not going to be a superstar. I mean, maybe if he puts the work in, but, he went from somebody who's never played basketball to where at the end of the season, he looked like a basketball player. He looked like, the 7th, 8th man on the bench where he can come in, play a few minutes for everybody else, and then we get the starters back in. Like, you need those guys. And he stepped into a role that we were missing. We had somebody decide not to play.
Yeah.
Graydon decided to play, and he filled that role really well.
Yeah, and if this means anything to anyone, the first day that Graydon was in the gym with us was the first tryout. I don't know if he came to any conditioning. He might have came to a little bit. But the first day he actually really touched the basketball, we were doing maybe a Duke closeout drill. I don't know what we were doing. We were doing something, and I just brought Graydon over, and I was like, "Graydon, do you know what a rebound is?" And he was like, "No." And I was like, you get the ball off of a shot. Anytime someone shoots it, you go get it. And I was like, that's what you need to try and go do every single time. That led to a lot of contested fadeaway mid-range shots where he would get a rebound and then just think, oh, I'm going to shoot this. But that was the point, was like, hey, dude, the only way you're going to learn is by throwing yourself in the mix and going and getting the ball and either shooting it or passing it out. And by the end of the year, that was his role. Like, go get a rebound, kick it out, or shoot it. And I don't know. Like I already said when I thought we were done talking about it a second ago, I'm glad that Graydon came out this year, and I hope he keeps playing.
There's a lot of guys that, the young guys that probably could have gotten an award, probably should have gotten an award, but those 8th graders really did step up as leaders, as role models, as guys who came into every practice and really worked. There was a lot of times this year that, we would have a good stretch of games, and then we'd have a stretch of games where we lose a couple close battles, where we, miss some shots late, lose a tough game that we felt like
kick
we
a ball
lost.
off our foot, in the final possession or something.
We have a lot of little
mistakes.
stuff like that. But we also had a lot of clutch wins. We had a lot of tough games where we had to fight back. There was a lot of games we were in, and then we just had one bad quarter. I mean, I can't tell you how many games we played 3 amazing quarters, and that one bad quarter just put us under completely. 4 points in a quarter, 8 turnovers in a quarter, missing every single shot, that kind of a thing. Like, sometimes that just happens, and you just got to keep playing through it.
Graydon joined. He said best coaches of all time.
Gray's the GOAT. Gray's the GOAT.
But yes, that is true. That happened a lot this year, and I think that the kids stayed excited and stayed happy to be around each other. And, I don't even know what our record was. I don't know that many of our kids know what our record was. Because
I tried to go through and count. I was like, honestly, there's a couple games I know I canceled or we didn't play or we got switch dates. Like, it was something like 11 and 16, something like that.
It wasn't fantastic, but all of the kids got better for sure. And you can't tell throughout the season as much, but then when you look back at the season, you think about the beginning and you think about the middle. Like, even now, I get to coach a lot of those kids in AAU, and we haven't gotten to some of these younger kids we're going to touch on in a second, but I see things in the AAU games that I'm like, oh, Coach McFarland or, Gary and Juan and myself, like, we had moments with those guys this year where we're trying to show them something in a game, we're trying to show them something in a practice, and it didn't really click then, but now it's clicking during AAU, and so it's nice to see that kind of stuff, and we're going to shout out some of those kids here in a second. So I think that's all we really got on our 8th graders. We hope that all of them go up to the high school, try to play as many sports as they can, try to get in all the clubs they can, really integrate themselves in there and kind of make a name for themselves, because it was a pretty great group of guys. So,
yeah. A couple of our younger guys that had standout years, Knox Harris ended up being one of our main starters. He ended up being second in assists with 73 total assists. Something I love about Knox is his court vision. Sometimes he'll be holding the ball and looking at the court, and I'm like, what are you waiting on? Just do it. He's like, he's trying to develop something. His mind knows that there's something there, and he's just getting to the point where he's figuring out how to manipulate that and really not have to stop and wait and hold it to understand it.
There's this thing he does where he'll back dribble, and while he's doing it, it almost looks uncomfortable. It almost looks like he is scared or doesn't know what he's doing, and then all of a sudden in the middle of back dribbling, he'll hang the ball really wide and cross over and take off. And he's done that a lot in AAU this year, where I almost yell at him to go, but then he goes, and it's because he sees something, or he is waiting on Fabi to come set a screen, or waiting on Gavin to cut, and maybe he doesn't actually know that in his head, but it's pattern recognition, and as you play more and more, you start to figure that out. So he sees the floor well, and he can shoot it too. He needs to grow a little bit. I think that if he gets a little bit longer and more lengthy, kind of like Camden was this year, maybe a little taller, he'll grow into his shot a little more. Because I told him, I was like, your shot's great, but when you shoot it, you always kind of finish like this, and that's such a hard motion to repeat. Whereas if you just finish extended, you can extend your arm every time and repeat that motion. So I think that's just the jump, is getting a lot of shots up this summer, and playing AAU helps. So
another guy is Fabi Guion. He was our 5th starter for most of the year. He ended up being, Fabi ended up getting recorded with 6 blocks. He had 69 defensive rebounds, 59 offensive rebounds, 120.
Fabi's one of those guys
rebounds.
that because Gavin and Blake are running around the court like chickens with their head cut off, trying to impact every single facet of the game, Fabi kind of flies under the radar. But he's tall, he's athletic, he loves basketball, you know what I mean? And I think that this year was kind of like a waking up year for him, and he realized, like, hey, I can do this, but I need to put in a lot of work. And so playing AAU's really helped him. But I think this year, everything he did kind of flied under the radar because maybe he didn't score 10 points a game, or maybe he didn't get 10 rebounds a game, and he only had 6 blocks. But he was probably up there with Gavin in the amount of deflections he got, the amount of times that he was under the basket and somebody would drive and shoot it, and he'd get the rebound and put it back or something. So he may have had more offensive rebounds than he did defensive rebounds. I could be true.
It was actually really close.
What is it?
He had 10 less offensive rebounds than he did defensive rebounds.
And I remember thinking that while I was doing the stats, like, wow, it's actually kind of impressive to, be. But he was always the guy against zones playing the short corner spot, and he plays it really well. And so hopefully Fabi will listen to this, but anybody listening to this, keep an eye out for Fabi next year, because I've been having him play a little bit of guard in AAU, and he's learning. He can already shoot it, but he's learning to get comfortable shooting it, and he's learning to get a handle. So hopefully next year we can throw him in as like a
Confidence is
3,
the key.
2, like a 4, let him kind of do other things and just sit under the basket.
Confidence is key because he led the team in field goal percentage. He shot 52% from the field, 51 for 98. He didn't take any threes. We got to work on them free throws, but besides that, like you said, he's starting to shoot a little bit more, getting that confidence up. He was third in rebounds. He was, one of those leaders, like you said, one of those hustle guys. But like I said, led us in field goal percentage. Knox was, I'm pretty sure, Knox led us in 3-point percentage. So those two really stepped up for us as starters. Another guy that played a lot for us this year, Eli Cohen. Talk about a battery, an energy guy.
I was telling his dad today, because his dad was talking about just kind of asking him like what his basketball goals were and talking to him about his basketball future. And I told him, I was like, listen, dude, it doesn't matter what sport he plays harder than anyone else. And I've never coached a kid that plays so hard that I have to kind of like be like, hey, dude, take it down just a notch for just a second, not the entire game, but in spurts, because there is times where you don't need to pick up full court, or you don't need to reach on a double team or something. And so he is that type of kid that plays so incredibly hard that not only do I have to remind him of that kind of stuff, but especially even in AAU, like this weekend on Sunday, he was in for maybe like a minute and a half to 2 minutes at a time, and then he was tired. And you can be like, well, he's out of shape. No, he is literally sprinting like as fast as he can everywhere he goes, and talking at the same time and trying to get, a hand on every pass or in every play. So he's kind of a coach's dream in terms of effort. Like he's the dictionary definition of how you're supposed to play the game. He puts it all on the line. So I think that'll come back to reward him. And skill-wise, I think he can agree. He didn't really have as good as a year as he probably hoped for, but I think he made up for that every bit. So, and the way he hustled, and he's a great teammate, so it doesn't really matter if he's swishing shots or if they're flying off the backboard and not even hitting the rim. Like, he's the same Eli every single time. The only time that he was the different Eli is when he got hurt, which because he goes so hard, he got hit in the head like 4 times this year. So
yeah, he is the definition of, bro, everybody else needs to go hard, you need to calm down, because he literally get himself to where he's, his chest is hurting, he goes out there and runs his head into somebody, but he's one of those guys you need to bring the energy and the positivity. He ain't afraid to chuck it, because he shot 16% from the 3-point line and 22% from the field. But none of those shots are we ever like, no, Eli, no. It's like, let's see if he's got it today. And, he's playing so hard that you can't say, you haven't put the work in to shoot those. You need to put the work in.
Let me tell you something. The 2 years that we've had elite shooters, the first year was Eli Laminak's 7th grade year, and then the second year was Hayden Lewis's 7th grade year. And both of those guys shot the ball really well their 7th grade year, and then because they shot it so well that year, their 8th grade year teams kind of focused on them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. This summer, Eli hit 5 or 6 threes at Vienna in a game, and we were like, well, let's let Eli chuck this year. You know what I mean? Let's let him have his year as a 7th grader, just shoot threes. And I think that with him shooting it the way he did, his year is going to be next year now. You know what I mean?
I mean, he shot 75% from the free throw line.
Exactly, and his shot is fine. I think I really think it's the fact that he plays so hard.
Oh yeah.
That when he shoots it, he's just so tired, because when he shoots in practice or he shoots by himself, he's making so many shots. And his brother's a shooter. We all know that.
He goes so hard that like in the game he gets the shot and he's still doing that little shake. That he's
getting his feet
Eli's
set.
just going so hard. And then he chucks
shoots it, and
doesn't
he looks at you, and he's like,
you'll be like, bro, you're never gonna make it if you can't control your breathing. That's one of the Steph Curry things that I've really found
his diaphragm
is he'll literally run lap, shoot, and then go sit down, get his heart rate back, and then do it all again. And then so it's like you have to be able to kind of find that balance of going hard but making sure you're not killing yourself so you can finish shots.
For sure, I completely agree.
I definitely got to give a shout out to Charlie Barlow. 25 points on the year. He's one of those guys who kind of stepped in throughout the year and helped us out in different spots. And as the season went along, we ended up going in a different direction minutes wise. But it's really just because we wanted to give Grade more of an opportunity. We were giving our main guys more minutes and just cut the rotation down. But that doesn't mean Charlie was bad. I think Charlie honestly kept every time I see Chuck on the floor, he surprises me. Every time I'm just like,
it's not because we don't believe in him. It's just
No.
because he's got great vision and like the way he sees the game. But it's at one point during the beginning of the year, he was playing so well, and we complimented him on that. And I think that kind of not went to his head, but made him think, oh, I need to be that guy that analyzes everything. And so he did start over-analyzing everything, and that kind of was the thing that made him not necessarily play bad, but slow down on the court. And so he wasn't keeping up with the play-by-play, up and down and whatnot. And Chuck knows that. We had that conversation with Chuck, and Chuck's playing AAU right now and doing fantastic. So he'll have a comeback year next year, but he had a killer JV season. It's not like it. He still played varsity, and every time he got in the varsity game, I can tell you probably 95% of the time the reason he got in was because we needed somebody to break pressure.
Yep.
Whether it was get it into the middle or get it across half, like we knew Chuck was going to make the right decision. It's just if the game was playing at a super fast pace, sometimes he'd get a little sped up. And that happens as a 7th grader, you know what I mean? So he got the right combination of minutes this year, I think, that kept him
so helpful for next year. I mean, Blake Wells probably had about the same amount of minutes as Charlie did this year as the 7th
Yes,
grader last
I
year.
almost think their like kind of like story is identical almost, except Blake's a little bit more of a powerhouse, Chuck's a little more finesse.
Yeah, I think Chuck's got a little bit more of that skill finesse, and like you said, Blake's more of a he's going to put his shoulder through you, and then he's going to hit a step back three.
Yep.
But Charlie's a great passer. I mean, like you said, we call him Baby Jokic for a reason.
I think that Chuck will develop a shot too. People don't know this, but me and Blake spent maybe 6 weeks in a row when he was in 6th grade doing form shooting drills against the wall. And so Blake ended up having a little bit better of a shot than most kids because he got that extra training at such a young age. But I think that Chuck's going to step into having a fine shot this year too. And if Chuck can shoot it and space the floor out, he's got such a slow, ethical pump fake that makes people want to step up at, kind of like Ben Williams or Gavin. Those three all kind of have the same slow pump fake where people step up, and because they can read the floor, they drive and make great passes. So I've got bright hopes for Chuck's 8th grade year next year.
Yeah, we got our other two 7th graders that were on varsity this year, Connor Penn and Colin Staples. Connor's one of those guys who earned a varsity jersey just through effort, showing up every day and going as hard as he possibly can. The way he worked out to get his body right, you could really tell he put the work in.
Being a good teammate, listening to everybody. Yep, listening to everybody, giving high fives, kind of just, making sure that everybody's motivated, everybody's got, someone patting him on the back. He's a little more quiet, so it's not as much like Gavin where he's loud, but I can remember times where I could see Connor over to the side kind of talking to somebody, like Colin, him and Colin especially, because they kind of had the same route. So shouts out to both of them, because those are both two guys that didn't really get as much playing time, but they are really good friends with everybody on the team. And so them being around was just kind of like a Graydon, kind of like a Cam. It's nice to have those guys around, and they know how to play basketball. They didn't get as much minutes, but they at least know what's going on. So at least it's not like, these guys are dragging, we got to help them through the drill. No, they know how to do the drill. They know what's going on. They just ended up playing more JV than they did varsity this year. And I think that through reps this summer. We're going to go to Vienna. We're going to go to Cobden. We're going to get a lot more time to get those guys reps because the Drakes and the Camdens and the Gradens are graduating. So it's kind of the same thing that it happens that way in junior high, and then it happens again in high school with, seniors. And so I don't know. Those guys impressed me too this year with the way that they, were able to stay locked in and listen to details and still keep up and energize their teammates. And I don't know. I wish there was like a 7th grade season or something, because I feel like there was 2 years there where me and Ross took a JV group to like a Wayne City or something so they could play. I wish we could do that so those two could play a little more with Knox and Fabi and Eli, but they'll get their time next year. So.
And then we have our 2 6th graders who end up making varsity, Ben Williams and Landon Hill. Landon's just a superior athlete, not over anybody else. I'm just talking about as a 6th grader getting 6th in cross-country state is impressive. He's one of those guys who he loves basketball too. And so when you can run like that and you love the game, he's knocking down a lot of threes. And, when you're that small and you can already shoot from that deep and you can run for days, that's a combination that is really scary. And if he grows at all, 2 inches, give me anything, he is going to be dangerous. Or just gets
stupid athletic bounce, you know what I mean? He's one of those kids that can really jump.
Because he can already run so much that, he just keeps developing those legs. He might be a freak of nature athlete. And then Ben Williams, like he said, he has those Gavin pump fakes. He's one of those guys who's fearless going to the basket. He's going to end up on the ground 9-10 times a game.
Oh, yeah.
But he's going to pop back up. He's going to keep going.
You know how much that works out in his favor, though? Sometimes he shoots layups and it's kind of grazed and falls, and it's like, foul. What? Okay, cool. We'll take it.
We'll take the free throw. We'll take 2 free throws.
No, Ben's got a pretty complete game for. I didn't say anything about Landon, but Landon knows where we stand. Lando's my little bro. We've been training for a while, so I got high hopes for him. But him and Ben and Bentley this year were fantastic. And I don't know, did you say anything about Bentley yet?
Not yet.
We'll talk about Bentley in a second. But Ben's just got a pretty complete game already for such a young kid. And I think that if he gets any faster, any more athletic, he's one of those kids. It doesn't matter, what you're running, what he's playing, where he's at, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what team, who he's with. He just plays good with any group of kids on any team, on any court. So I like watching him and Landon and Bentley all play. And we've talked about Bentley plenty of times. Bentley's just a bucket getter, dude. I mean, he's just a bucket. Dude, it don't catch and shoot 3 behind the back wrap, getting to the mid range, that little awkward short corner shot that nobody can make, transition runouts, Ben and Landon will do some stuff that you won't expect to see in a 5th and 6th grade game. So those guys are going to be fun to watch, and I think that they had ups and downs this year for sure, but I think that a lot of their ups and downs came from just being younger kids playing a junior high sport for the first time. Maybe Landon's been running some cross country and they maybe had a baseball season, I'm not sure, but
I feel like them being on the team last year as 5th graders gave them some kind of expectation and pressure on themselves, that they were definitely going to, be playing varsity by this year, whatever the case may be, or they were going to be a superstar on JV. It's when everybody else is already a year or 2 ahead of you and growing in athleticism, you have to be exceptional to get on the floor, and then you have to also kind of pay your dues. Not that you have to, not that 8th graders get to play over you just because they're 8th graders, but we know what they've done. We know that we can trust certain guys, and you got to come out there and show it. So I think a lot of times they just come out there and put too much pressure on themselves.
Yeah.
Those 3 especially, because I know all 3 of them have the talent and the skills to be some of the best players that ever come out.
Yeah, I can't remember a time this year where any of them had a bad game, but I can remember a lot of times this year where all 3 of them or one of them 3 would come out of the locker room thinking they had a bad game. And it's dude, you've got such high expectations on yourself as a young kid. You're supposed to just be loving the game right now. You're supposed to really just be loving the game until you're a freshman or a sophomore in high school. Until you're a junior or a senior, you're not supposed to really put pressure on yourself to go be anything. You're supposed to just learn to love it, learn to play it. And so
I feel like sometimes for the 3 of them, they kind of all 3 do a little bit of the same thing. So sometimes that can get in the way, or if I need a,
they all score. That's for sure.
If I'm sitting there as a coach and I'm like, all right, I need a small guard who can handle, put some pressure on the defense. And I look down there, I've got 3 basically identical guys. Like Ben's a little bit bigger, Bentley maybe a slightly better ball handler, and Landon's obviously a little bit faster. It's like they all 3 pretty much do the same thing, just a little bit differently in their own skill sets.
Yeah.
So it's almost hard when you have all 3 of them. You're trying to play around the 7th graders, and especially on varsity around 8th and 7th graders.
Yeah, for sure. And those kids are in a weird spot where they haven't really gotten to play a lot with their own teammates. Like they have a little bit, but they haven't. And so I think that when they get to play with the kids they're going to play with, whether that's playing up or playing with kids of their age, that's going to make them a lot more comfortable and put them in a position to hopefully excel a little bit better, because I think that this year, like we said, the high expectations made them think, okay, well, now when 5th and 6th grade season comes around, we're going to beat teams by 70, and that just didn't really happen. And so I don't know. We've kind of just talked as much as we can about each individual kid, which is what we wanted to do, give the kids a chance to come on here and listen to us talk about them, and let them all know that we appreciate them deeply individually, not just as a team, but like each individual kid we had a relationship with.
RJ, Chase, Aiden.
Yeah, Aiden. Those are kids
all 3 of those
their
guys
names aren't on the scorebook here, but those are kids that were around. And
is there anybody? I don't want to miss out on anybody else.
I didn't really want to go into the 5th and 6th grade season too much, but I will say the 5th and 6th grade season was record-wise a lot better than any that we've had in a long time. But I don't really want to go into the 5th and 6th grade players too much.
Shout out to Chase, Aiden, and RJ for showing up all year long as well, because they're not. Just because we didn't mention them or they weren't on varsity doesn't mean they're not good basketball players. It means that they've grown and developed every single day and every single year, and they come in and put the work in. They've earned their spot on the team. We hope that they come back out next year, because we have a lot to prove, and I know that they're going to improve this summer and going through next year.
Well, they improved during the 5th and 6th grade season, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Aiden improved during the JV season, so that's all it is in junior high is improvements and making sure they have fun. And
so we wish we would have won 20 games and won a regional, but how many times does Jonesboro actually win 20-plus games? Because we don't just put the Cracker Jack easy games on.
No, we always try to make sure we have comp. And I feel like the 3 years in a row that we won regionals, the only year we had 20-plus wins was the COVID year. The year before COVID or after COVID, we went 21-4 or something like that. But the next year we won a regional and went to state. We were 14-17. The next year we won a regional and went to state. We were 18-12. So we're not winning 20 games often. So.
I mean, first year I think we won 8-9 games. This year we won 11-12 games. It's just kind of one of those things where, this year specifically, the team we beat first game of regionals last year ended up winning the regional this year. So sometimes it's just how it goes. Then we faced the team that won the regional last year.
We had a lot of guys on our team this year who hadn't played a lot of junior high basketball, specifically varsity meaningful minutes. And so when you've only got one and a half kids who have really kind of been through the ringer, like that's what this year was putting a lot of the kids through the ringer. But we've got 7 or 8 kids on here who got some playing time and got some minutes this year, and that brings high hopes into the summer. So I'm excited to start summer stuff. I don't think we're officially hired yet. So once we get rehired, hopefully, or whoever gets hired, they'll start summer stuff, and we'll have Vienna and Cobden and all that stuff. So it'll be a good summer. And like I said, we'll send those 5 8th graders up to the high school, and they've already had some high school open gyms. So
we're glad to be a part of their lives, and we're glad that we're a little family, especially when you're on a team and you spend basically 6 months out of the 12 months of the year we spend with those boys. You know,
maybe even more counting summer and all the extra stuff we do.
Season is actually 5 months long, plus at least a month of summer stuff. Like that's 6 months guaranteed that we're with those boys.
Yep.
And it's great to be around them. I hope that we leave a positive impact on them. I hope that it's more than basketball. Just like this podcast, we want it all to be more than just basketball.
Yeah.
We hope they see the work ethic that we have. I hope they see the love and passion for things that we have and share. And I just hope that we keep.
I hope it rubs off. I hope it rubs off for sure. Cause
it doesn't have to be basketball.
No,
we
whatever
want them
you
to
do.
be great at whatever they do.
Yeah.
If they're gonna, I want them to be the greatest farmer ever. I want them to be the greatest student ever. I want them to be the greatest worker ever. Like whatever they go into, whatever sport, skill set they decide to go for, just do your best at it and try as best you can to give it all you got. And that's all anybody can ever ask of you. Because if you do that, you do your best, you've done your job.
Yeah, and know that you've got 2 coaches here that support you and will do anything to help you out or give you advice. So we're still learning and growing as best we can, but I love to be there for you guys. So we'll leave it at that. That'll be the junior high section.
Shout out Jonesboro. We love you guys. Moving on to our next part, we're going to get into a little bit more NBA playoff takes.
I know, this is the boring part.
Yeah.
Y'all don't want to listen to us talk NBA.
Some people do like NBA talk, some people don't, but this is what we like to talk about now. So if you want to just skip through to the end, we will have a Bible verse at the end if you want to get to that part. NBA takes first. Go ahead and start us off, Blake. What we got first topic?
Is this LeBron's last game ever?
Um,
Chat, is this LeBron's last game ever?
No, but we might title the podcast that.
LeBron's last
Is
game
this
ever?
LeBron's last game ever?
Shout out KG, shout out Blake. I've had a live going this entire time. Shout out Knox. Oops, I didn't mean to send that invite. Shout out Landon. Shout out Blake Williams. Shout out. Oh, all right. Hey, Knox. I actually got Knox in here. Shout out Isaac. Shout out Hayden Lewis. Shout out Bentley Cobb. You need to go to bed, dude.
No.
Anyway, I'm going to mute you, Knox, but you can stay in here if you want. Anyway, but shout out to all those guys. I've got a live going on here, and they're all, KG's talking about Ben. They're all adding comments and stuff, so we appreciate that. I meant to say that before we got into the NBA stuff, but.
Yeah, shout out those guys. I mean, shout out the Anna guys. I miss those guys. You know, watching them all grow up has been really fun. Another class is about to graduate. You know, Zay and Foster and all those guys, Christian Thompson. You know, it's nice to see those guys, you know, moving on in life and doing different things, because you see it's not about me, but like you feel a part of their lives in a way. And so you just hope you see whenever they do something positive or something successful, you're like, I hope I was 1% part of that, just 1% part of that. I don't want any credit. They don't have to call me out. But I hope that at some point in their life, I was able to impact them in a positive way.
It's low-key kind of fun when guys come back to the WIF and come and talk to Ben about, you know, stories about playing against Jonesboro or playing against whoever, and they tell stories about when Ben got mad, or they tell stories about this and that. Like, I mean, I'm starting to get to that age, too, where my first group of kids was Aiden, so this year will be the first group of kids that I coach will be graduating, which is kind of crazy to think about, but the same thing happens where kids that, you know, I've been coaching for a while will be like, you remember this whenever we were in junior high and we did this? And it's like, yeah, I do remember that, dude. You make me feel old. So, but it's a joy to see those guys like Drake and Tyler. And I mean, who was your first group?
At Anna, the first group was technically, would have been Chloe's group. So like Bryce Henry.
Yeah.
And,
those guys graduated, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, they were 2 years younger than you.
Yeah, so 4 years ago.
Yeah, so,
Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah, I mean, you were my first group.
Yeah, I know.
And that was 2014, 15.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, my 8th grade year was 2016. Yeah, so it would have been 2015 because you weren't there
year.
for.
And then I missed out on 2 years. So if I coach this year, it'll be year 11 of coaching for me. So, yes, I am getting old.
Yeah.
I am 30 and I am having a kid in the next week or so. So, yes, I am old.
Yeah, you are. I'm not. I'm still 24.
NBA takes.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, my bad. That was on me. Okay, back to
Bron's last game. No, he's going to play next year. For what team, I don't know. I did like to see the Giannis trade rumors.
Yeah, I like to see that be crazy. Put all the goats
what
together.
What team you want to see Giannis on? I know I just completely skipped the LeBron part, but what team you want to see Giannis on?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
What team do you realistically think he could get traded to?
If he wasn't going to go to the Warriors and play for the Warriors, realistically, I don't have a team. I want to see him play with Wemby. Unrealistically, I want to see him play with Wemby.
It'd be Warriors first.
Yeah.
Spurs second. I mean,
what teams we got here?
So if I'm thinking like a fun team, the Hawks.
Yeah.
A team where it could be realistic. The Celtics.
Does he have a realistic chance to play for like the Cavs?
If they want to get off like Evan Mobley and James Harden, maybe.
I do.
But
I don't want to get rid of Evan Mobley. Never mind. No, I want to see him play for the Warriors. Let's leave it at that. I don't have anything else. I want to see him, Bron.
I can't. It's hard to think
Everybody.
of a realistic trade. I mean,
No,
Rockets.
there isn't
I'd
one.
love to see him on the Rockets, but
There
I
isn't
still
a
don't think
realistic
that's
trade.
a good realistic trade either. But I mean, that's the thing. Luka Doncic got traded a couple years ago, so it doesn't matter if there's anybody. There's nobody that's untradeable except for Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah, that's true. If you trade Victor, you're crazy.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if this is Bron's last game. I know
he's got another year.
We're switching topics
maybe,
crazy.
Maybe it's his last playoff game.
Yeah.
What if he
So I
ends
was
up?
like, Cleveland, this is for you. Oh, it was Caleb.
What team do
Yeah.
you want to see LeBron on next year? You want to
Cleveland.
go back to the Lakers?
Cleveland.
Go to Cleveland?
Yeah, I would like to see him go back to one of the teams he's already played for or the Warriors.
You want to see him on Miami?
Honestly, like I don't really care. I'd like to just see him finish
To
out
play
where
with Tyler Hero and Kobe Adebayo?
it doesn't. It doesn't bother me either way. Dude, forgotten Steph Curry, bro, never gotten traded. No, that is true. That is true. No, realistically, I'd like to see Bron go back to Cleveland or go back to L.A. and play with Luka one more year, but I don't know what's going to happen there. I think a lot of L.A. fans are ready for Bron to give it up.
Yeah, I think it's Luka's team now. And
I agree.
I don't know what they're going to do with Austin Reeves,
Well,
but he's on such a good
Bron's
contract.
currently 0 for 6 in the second quarter with 4 turnovers, so.
That was the Lakers. I
Was?
just said the last name just like
Did?
the team.
Oh, okay. I thought it said LeBron.
Yeah, don't handle LeBron that much. Calm down. All right. I see that Curry
My
jersey
bad.
behind
My
you.
bad.
No, we both have a lot of respect for LeBron. I'm excited to see what he does this year, this next year, because this series is over. I don't care if they happen to steal one
they're
tonight.
not coming.
It's over. I'm just glad that the NBA did not suspend Wemby for that elbow he threw.
Yes, me too. And I saw something today where they talked about how if the roles were reversed, they would suspend Nas Reed. And what do you think about that?
I do not agree with that call. I don't think he should have got suspended. Like, I'll just say it like that. I think he probably could have got fined. I think give him a $10,000 fine for malicious intent or whatever.
I think he will get fined at some point.
Well, they didn't. They decided not to give him anything. The ruling came down today.
Really?
Or maybe it was just that he wasn't going to be suspended. But the fact he didn't get suspended was kind of crazy because, like you said, if it's a Draymond or somebody else, they're almost guaranteed. But I think that, history and what you've done in the past definitely has a role in that. And this is his first time ever doing anything like that.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I saw where they were talking about basically just saying, like, had this been a second or a third offense or like a Dylan Brooks or a Lou Dort or something, then you've got to suspend him or something. But Wemby being young, him being the type of something that did blow my mind as a rookie, he was studying the rule books for the Rising Stars Challenge. You know what I'm talking about? Do you remember that? And then they showed a clip of him during the game talking to Harrison Barnes about, he was like, I'm suspended? And he was like, yeah, they suspended you. Like, you're telling me that Victor Wembanyama didn't know he was going to get suspended and what a flagrant 2 was?
Apparently not. He's never heard of a flagrant 2 before. But I'm just glad that we still have a chance to have Spurs Thunder in the Western Conference Finals because, Knicks just swept the Sixers. Thunder on their way to sweeping the Lakers. Pistons and Cavs has turned out to be a good series, but none of those games have actually been good games. It's just a back-and-forth series. Spurs and Timberwolves has been the series of injuries and, Wemby elbows. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens with those two series, but Knicks are already in the Eastern Conference Finals. Thunder basically guaranteed in the Western Conference Finals. Is that our finals matchup, do you think? I feel like those have been the best two teams in those conferences.
It's got to be. We talked a lot in the beginning with Ross especially about different things playing out different ways, but it doesn't really make any sense to put any other teams there.
I think the Spurs could, but I also think the Timberwolves might beat the Spurs before they get there. I think the Timberwolves could give a Thunder a chance, but at the end of the day, I think Thunder's talent is so good. But the Knicks, the way they're playing and shooting the ball, everybody better watch out. Even the Thunder better watch out if they keep playing like that. I don't know how much longer they can play like that.
That's what I'm saying. 7-game series.
They just did it 4 games in a row pretty well. They destroyed the Sixers. And the Sixers just made the Celtics look like they didn't know how to play basketball. So
Knicks ain't sweeping the Thunder.
They're definitely not sweeping.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You said 4 games in a row. They're going to have to sweep them.
They still have to get out of the Eastern Conference Finals
I know.
and then get to the finals. I'm just saying they are the only team out of the East that can give the Thunder a run for their money, or the Timberwolves, or the Spurs.
Oh yeah.
So I don't have any faith in the Pistons
with that.
or
I don't
Cavs.
see. Yeah, I don't. I see the Knicks being in the finals, but on the other side,
I think the 4 best teams in the NBA playoffs are Thunder,
Timberwolves,
Spurs,
Knicks,
Timberwolves.
Yeah, I agree.
So I mean, it really comes down to who wins the Timberwolves Spurs. And really, if anybody can beat the Thunder, because the Thunder are
I think that if
the
Spurs beat the Timberwolves and play the Thunder, there's potential the Spurs can beat the Thunder, but the Timberwolves beat the Spurs, they're not going to beat the Thunder, and then the Thunder are going to go play the Knicks and probably beat them in 6.
Yep, I got Thunder in 6 over anybody. All right, that's our playoffs takes.
Lottery,
NBA draft lottery just came out the other day. I could talk about the lottery for another hour straight if you really wanted to. I could give you a whole mock draft. But Wizards get the number 1 overall pick in this year's draft. After having one of those weird years where they're definitely tanking, they get 83 points scored on them. They trade for Trae Young and AD midway through the year, which... For what? For why? They were both
for
injured
the plot.
at the time.
For the plot.
But, I mean, honestly, that kind of makes it where it's like you throw my personal opinion is A.J. DeBanza, number 1 pick.
No matter what team you are.
No matter what team you are. I think he is by far the best player.
I see a lot of people. Go ahead. Continue. We'll talk about it in a second. Continue.
Trae Young, A.D., A.J. DeBanza, Sarr. Any of those new guards, they have the kid they drafted last year, 5th overall or whatever. They have a couple other guys that they could play in that spot. But they just have a nice little core of guys, and having that 1st overall pick gives them the option to choose whoever they want.
Here's where I was going. Freaking Caleb said Darius Acuff in the chat, but...
Darius Acuff is good, but if he goes in the top 4, somebody's getting fired. Those top 4 guys are the top 4 guys, without a doubt.
Did you hear that, Caleb?
If Darius Acuff goes in the top 4, whoever takes him is getting fired. Whether it's that year, a few years down the line. Utah Jazz. They're the team that tanked, got everybody in trouble for tanking, changed the lottery forever. They get the number 2 pick. It's the first time they've ever gone up in their history in the lottery. But... they kind of are missing out. They spent a lot of money in years.
Caleb said, give me Ben McFarland.
Utah has spent a lot of years trying to get A.J. DeBanza in Utah because they brought him in there during high school to go to prep school there, and they had him an NIL basically just for him to go play at BYU. So having the 2nd overall pick, they better either trade up or just pray for some luck, because they spent a lot of money to get A.J. DeBanza to Utah to end up with Darren Peterson.
I didn't know that. You pay a lot more attention, but that's kind of a crazy story, honestly.
So the Utah Jazz owner, Ryan Miller, I think that's his name. Sean, I can't remember, but their owner has put a lot of money into the NIL trust at BYU, and he helped get A.J. DeBanza from Massachusetts out to Utah to play prep and then go to college, and they do this tank this year to get in the lottery, and they get the 2nd overall pick. So I'm not sure what they're going to do.
They're taking Darren Peterson.
And they kind of don't need forwards when they have a Jaren Jackson Jr. and Larry Markkinen. They do have Ace Bailey and Keontae George, so it's like, do they really need another scoring wing? But I think Darren Peterson for them is definitely the pick at 2.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about. I haven't watched a lot of Darren Peterson, but from what I've heard, he's got great pace, loves to get to his spots well, and in today's NBA, you don't see a lot of that anymore. You see a lot of guys that play roles, a lot of guys that catch and shoot threes, and there's nothing wrong with that. But me personally, if you got a guy that can handle the ball as a point guard or a shooting guard and still get kind of like a Donovan Mitchell, honestly, still get to his spots and score pretty confidently in the way he wants to. Like, I like that type of player. So. Regardless of what others say in the chat, but
the pick I'm most excited for is Memphis because they're right down the road from us.
Yeah.
But them getting the 3rd overall pick, they're most likely they basically get their pick between Cam Boozer or Caleb Wilson.
Yeah.
Unless somebody takes one of them early and they get their
Darren
or AJ. AJ's not dropping a 3.
No,
AJ's 1 or 2.
Got to be 1.
If he's not 1, he's 2 because Utah's not letting him go past there. So. Darren could fall to 3. I could see somebody getting excited about a Cam Boozer or the Jazz wanting just a menace like Caleb Wilson.
Yeah.
But Cam Boozer is the highest floor. So he is going to be a solid NBA player. He is going to be, at worst case minimum, 15-9. Like, that's the bare minimum. Even when he's old and dry and dusty, he's going to be 15-9 in the NBA.
He's going to be better than Carlos?
I think he can be. I think he has the potential to be. But I don't think he has the ceiling that Darren Peterson has. Darren Peterson has the Kobe ceiling. Like, he honestly does. But he also has the Andrew Wiggins floor where he's just, like, really athletic, plays 70% of the time, and, like, is just a good athlete, not a great scorer, not a great anything, just really, really good. But I think A.J. Dabansa is by far the guy that could be the next maybe a Kevin Durant or, like, basically like a smaller Giannis mixed with a Kevin Durant where he's got, like, that real good athleticism where he's going to get to the basket and dunk on you.
He's got a little bit more mobility than both of them. You know, like side-to-side mobility. I don't really know how to explain it, but I feel like I see a lot less downhill stuff and a lot more pivot side-to-side, like planting hard and exploding. I don't know if that makes sense. But
I'm trying to figure out a good comparison for him because, like, obviously Darren Peterson, you can say Kobe. That's a pretty easy one to say. Cam Boozer, an easy one to say is Carlos Boozer.
Yeah.
On, just a little bit taller, more athletic, I feel like. Maybe not quite as strong, I guess, but he's still a big boy. But Memphis getting the 3rd overall pick, I'm excited for. And then another team that's close to us getting the 4th overall pick, Chicago Bulls are going to be ecstatic to be in the top 4. They only had a 20% chance of moving into the top 4. They're going to end up with whatever one of those 4 is left.
Yeah.
Caleb Wilson, most likely. He'll be what everybody was hoping Patrick Williams was going to be. He's a smaller Giannis. He's a smaller Chet on defense. But on offense, he can be a plug-and-play guy. He's going to lead. He led the Tar Heels in every statistical category this year in averages. So he's one of those guys that just kind of does everything across the board. Really solid player. Really excited to see that. The biggest news story of the draft was the Pacers falling to 5 and their pick getting traded to the Clippers for Ivica Zubac. If you're the Pacers, how do you feel about that pick and that trade now?
I mean, if you're getting Keaton or Wagler, who cares?
Well, they had traded for Ivica Zubac, and they gave the Clippers a top 4 protected pick.
They don't get that pick.
And they don't get the pick because it dropped to 5.
But they get Ivica?
They got Ivica Zubac already.
Shop them.
They've got Ivica Zubac.
I don't know, though. They got Miles Turner still.
And their GM is right after this came out and put a press thing out like, sorry to our fans, but at least we have a real center, and we need a real center to compete with the best teams. Yeah, Ivica Zubac is probably the 15th best center in the league. Top 15 for sure.
Which isn't good, but
15 out of 30.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Rebounding-wise, when he rebounds, he's guaranteed 15 rebounds, 14, 15 rebounds, sometimes 20. But other than that, playing on a Pacers team with Tyrese Halliburton, who's going to be back, and they've been playing fast, You're asking Zubac to play fast?
Yeah. And now imagine Darius Acuff Jr. going to the Pacers. Now that's where I would have liked to see him go, but nope, he's going to get the Clippers are going to get that pick. I'm not going to go through the rest of this mock draft. I just kind of want to go over that. Nets falling to 6. That's kind of tough on them. Kings, no man's land with 7. The Atlanta Hawks get that New Orleans pick. Remember, New Orleans traded up last year. They traded their future first-round pick to move up, and the Hawks get it at 8. So the Hawks with a promising year this year, trade away Trae Young and still had a good playoff run. They're going to add a good young guard because this draft after those top 4, it's like 5 or 6 guards that you can just. It's kind of your pick. Which one do you like more? Who's more athletic? Who can shoot more? That kind of a thing. Dallas Mavericks fall to 9. I don't know where they're supposed to be, but it would have been nice to see Cooper Flag get somebody up high. But being top 9 is good. Bucks 10. Warriors 11th pick. Is there anybody you want to see end up on the Warriors? Any college guys you remember that you would want to see? A Daymara?
No, I don't even know who that is.
The big guy from Michigan.
Stojakovic.
A little Stojakovic.
Yeah.
OKC.
I do like that big guy from Michigan, actually.
Yeah, that's a Daymara. Or their forward, Yaxel Lindenberg. Oklahoma City gets the Clippers pick at 12, so they're just adding to the riches. Heat at 13 and Hornets at 14. That's the lottery for you. It's gonna be a fun year. This is a loaded draft class. If we had another hour, I could go through all these guys and give you a breakdown. But I didn't watch every single one of them, and nobody really cares. So we'll move on from that. But I did want to touch on that a little bit because it's really exciting. I'm excited for this group, and basketball's just getting so good. And we've talked about for years how there's going to be just this influx of 6'6" to 6'11", or even some 7'5", like just aliens, guys who can dribble, shoot, score, dunk, pass, rebound, steal, block,
basically
do everything on the floor. 5 tool players on the basketball floor who are freaks of nature as well.
You're rarely going to see those guys that are just the one-trick guys or the short guards. You know what I mean? You have
to be a short guard. You have to be elite at something.
Or at multiple things, honestly.
Multiple things for sure. Anything else you want to talk about draft-wise, lottery-wise?
I didn't pay that much attention to the draft or lottery. I won't lie. I actually missed the entire thing, and the only thing I watched on it was Kenny's recap of it. Yeah. King of the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Well, we'll be excited to see the draft here in the summer and see where everybody ends up going. But you want to go over those last 2 topics, or?
No, not after that.
All right, let's wrap that part up right there. Honestly, Donovan Mitchell just took over the Cleveland game.
He only had 4 points in the first half, but
he had 39 in the second. And Cleveland went on a 23-0 run to start the third quarter. So
and then they almost gave it back. They almost gave it back to him.
So stay in it, keep going no matter what, and believe in yourself. That's what this podcast is about. We're gonna move into our last little segment. We've been recording for an hour now. We'll kind of wrap it up with this last little part here. I was kind of just looking up the other day. I was looking up some Bible verses about anxiety. Just kind of talking about,
dude, this is crazy.
Where people, basically, what does the Bible say about anxiety? Because I've been feeling a lot of anxiety lately. I'm trying to look for a new job. I've got a baby on the way. Like, a lot of things are changing and moving, and I'm trying to figure out how to follow God, because it's easy to say, "Oh, I follow God." But like sometimes, like when you have to make decisions like this, or like you're making decisions every day, it's hard to like sit there and actually figure out what's real, what are my feelings, what's about God, and so I've been really anxious and feeling the extra pressure of life lately. And I feel like some other people around me have too.
Yeah.
And so I really wanted to kind of dive into what does God say about it? What can I get from him to help me out with that. So I was looking it up, and I found Proverbs 12. It talks about a lot more than anxiety. The actual verse I found was Proverbs 12:25. Anxiety weighs down the heart, but a kind word cheers it up. I was like, that sounds nice, but what's the actual context of that? And if you don't know, Proverbs is a book in the Bible that's kind of just like a lot of like statements and some like, affirmations, some poems and different stuff like that. But it's one of those Bibles that's less stories and more like statements and stuff like that. And so this is Proverbs 12. Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but whoever hates correction is stupid. As soon as I read that would hurt.
Yeah.
That would hurt
Yeah.
because it's so easy in life to just, my way is the right way. Especially nowadays, follow your heart, your dreams, desires. But like, if you're not disciplined, then you don't. It says, whoever loves discipline loves knowledge. But whoever hates correction is stupid.
All of us.
Like
Everybody has fallen victim to that.
that one,
I mean-
that one hurt. And that was the first. That was only first verse, and we got 28 more to go.
Yeah.
Good people obtain favor from the Lord, but He condemns those who devise wicked schemes. No one can be established through wickedness, but the righteous cannot be uprooted. A wife of noble character is her husband's crown, but a disgraceful wife is like decay in his bones. The plan of the righteous are just, but the advice of the wicked is deceitful. The words of the wicked lie in wait for blood, but the speech of the upright rescues them. The wicked are overthrown and no more, but the house of the righteous stands firm. A person is praised according to their prudence, and one with a warped mind is despised. So far, this is just kind of talking about, in different verses, a little bit different, but the whole kind of point of it is talking about your speech, your character, your heart, honestly, your heart of, not wanting to be wicked, being a wife of noble character, having plans of righteousness,
Wanting to be pure and whole.
not taking advice from the wicked. The words of wicked lie in wait for blood, but the speech of the upright rescues them. That means that when you speak illy on people,
Or yourself.
when you talk, yes, exactly. When you talk bad about yourself, when you think those bad thoughts, it doesn't leave room for God. It doesn't leave room for the positive things that He is trying to reach out and communicate to you. Better to be a nobody and yet have a servant than pretend to be somebody and have no food. The righteous care for the needs of their animals, but the kindest acts of the wicked are cruel. Those who work their land will have abundant food, but those who chase fantasies have no sense. Sometimes our dreams are just fantasies.
Read that first one again. The first.
Better to be a nobody and yet have a servant than pretend to be somebody and have no food.
Yeah.
And by a servant, we're not talking about slavery. We're talking about having somebody around you to help you. In Bible context, yes, they were talking about a servant. But now it's talking about, it's better to just be, for my case, I would rather be a nobody and have my wife and have her, treat her right and make sure, if I do things for her, she does things for me. It's not expectation. It's a relationship. It's reality. And it's whenever you have that, that care for someone, a righteous care, then they were going to take care of you as well. The righteous care for the needs of their animals, but the kindest acts of the wicked are cruel. So even when you have ill intent and you try and be nice, it's still going to end up coming out as cruel. Those who work their land will have abundant food, but those who chase fantasies have no sense. The wicked desire the stronghold of evildoers, but the root of the righteousness endures. Evildoers are trapped by their sinful talk, and so the innocent escape trouble. From the fruit of their lips, people are filled with good things, and the work of their hands brings them reward. The way of fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice. That one's... The way of fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice.
Yeah, it's hard to talk about things like this without talking about examples and then talking about people. And, I feel like that's people in general. You know what I mean? Read it one more time.
Fools show their annoyance at once, but the prudent... Oh, whoop. That was the wrong one.
Yeah, that was the wrong one.
But, all right, I'm going to read both of those this time.
Yeah, because they're...
The way of fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice.
All right, stop. The way of a fool seems right to them. We're all fools. You know what I mean? We all have our sinful acts, our addictions, the things we do wrong. And, sometimes in some people's cases, we know it's wrong, but it's a repeatable action. It's something that we've built as a habit up to now. And so it's like, what does it say? The way of a fool.
Yeah, the way of fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice.
So the habits we build up and the repeated actions that end up, becoming part of our life, it just seems right to us. You know what I mean? But then
and a lot of times, I don't know about you guys, but I talk to myself in my head. And, you can convince yourself of certain things. And so sometimes you create a plan or whatever, like a goal or whatever it is, and you have to reach that. Kind of like we were talking about pressure that those boys would put on themselves earlier. It's kind of that same thing, like where, you seem like you're trying to do the right thing, but really you're just being a fool. Yeah. If you just listen to the advice of somebody around you, or especially from God, then the wise listen to that advice.
Yes, and I can't tell you how often I fall into that right there of being a fool and just not taking someone else's advice, whether it's because I don't trust them or whether it's because I trust my own ways or whether it's because I've made it this far by myself. Like, I won't sit down and kind of lose the ego, I guess, and actually whether it's because I think this of this person trying to give me advice or I already think this of myself, thinking I already have the knowledge of a topic or of a subject or of something going on in my life. So I don't want to listen to what this person has to say, or I just want to figure it out on my own. But keep going.
Fools show their annoyance at once, but the prudent overlook an insult. It's talking about patience. Yeah. Show patience. Don't let the words of everybody else get to you. An honest witness tells the truth, but a false witness tells lies. The words of reckless pierce like swords, but the tongue of the wise bring healing. When you tell lies on people, when you tell, especially, you start, it could be spreading a rumor. Yeah. You heard this about this guy, you spread this rumor about them, you tell lies about somebody. The words of reckless pierce like swords, but the tongue of the wise bring healing. So instead of spreading that rumor, go reach out to that person and ask them what you can do to help them.
Yeah.
Let's use our words to be wise, to bring healing. Truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue lasts only a moment. Deceit is in the heart of those who plot evil, but those who promote peace have joy. No harm overtakes the righteous, but the wicked have their fill of trouble. The Lord detests lying lips, but he delights in people who are trustworthy. The prudent keep their knowledge to themselves, but a fool's heart blurts out folly. Diligent hands will rule, but laziness ends in forced labor. Anxiety weighs down the heart, but a kind word cheers it up. Those two are the ones that really caught my eye out of this whole context. It's kind of, that whole part is talking about lies and, being truthful and, talking about, knowledge of, not of themselves, but of God. And, then it also talks about a diligent hand will rule, but laziness ends in forced labor. Whenever you just keep putting the work in and you're just ready, basically it's like if a farmer, if he wants to have a field ready, he has to go ahead and plant it and get the field plowed and tilled and get the ground ready. And then he has to plant it. And guess what? He just has to basically pray and hope that the weather goes right, that everything else goes right. But if he doesn't get the field ready first, then he's not going to be able to be there.
Before you go to the next one, the number 24 that you're talking about right now, I feel like I can apply perfectly to my life. And you could probably apply any of these to anybody's life. But this one in particular of the plus 1% better, of, every single day just trying to put in work, knowing that the stuff that is meant for me is going to come to me as long as I put in the work. But as soon as I get lazy, now I force myself to have to crawl out of that spot, or I force myself to have to put into more work into different outcomes. You know what I mean? But as long as I stay 1% better every day, get better, stay, the path, stay steadfast, keep meeting people, keep networking, keep putting out content, keep trying to be a better coach, be a better basketball player. I feel like I keep myself ready for the moment rather than reaching the moment and being like, oh my God, I'm not ready. I got to put in all this work. I got to figure it out. So I like that one a lot too.
Anxiety weighs down the heart, but a kind word cheers it up. The righteous choose their friends carefully, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. The lazy do not roast any game, but the diligent feed on the riches of the hunt. In the way of righteousness there is life. Along that path is immortality. We don't have to be the ones who are righteous, but you have to make sure you are doing your part in a relationship. That means you have to make sure you're basically what this was talking about was don't lie. Believe in God. Trust in not your own doing, but God's doing. And know that everything that you are doing is for a purpose, for a reason, for a goal, for an outcome. It might not be what you think it is. And a lot of people don't end up where they imagined they were going to end up, because your plans, a lot of times they're silly, they're foolish. But if you trust,
they're two-story book.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You got this idea of your life's going to be perfect. And
you have to go through stuff.
You have to.
I heard Tony Dungy today talking about how, people always like to bring up, if God is a good God, why does he allow people to go through pain? Well, his son was born with one of those rare diseases where he can't feel any pain. So he has had over 70 different surgeries and the doctors actually said when he was 2 or 3 that he wouldn't make it, because at some point he would, if he can't feel any pain, he could just he would be jumping off of slides, and it doesn't bother him, but by the time they get home, his legs hanging halfway off the side. It's like, did you do something? He's like, I don't know. So it was really dangerous. So a lot of times we think, why is there pain in life? Well, you have to go through pain. You have to go through life. Life has a lot of lessons for us to teach, because if we don't feel pain, we will feel death. If you don't go through some struggle, then you're just going to fail, just flat out fail. But if you go through struggle and pick yourself back up, if you go through struggle and look to God, if you go through it and you keep fighting through it, it is going to lead to a better outcome. Whether it's what you thought it was going to be, or whether it's God's plan, he has a plan for you, but you have to do your part. Diligent hands will rule, but laziness ends in forced labor. That's how we're going to end this podcast. You got any other last words?
Yeah, I guess I'll drop my quote, because a lot of this was about anxiety, and I feel like I've been going through a lot of anxiety recently, just forced upon myself, thinking about so many different future outcomes, or thinking about things in the past that I usually wouldn't worry about because I'm so busy. But now that I've had more time to kind of sit back and recollect my thoughts, I've put a lot more anxiety on myself. And so I think this was good to talk about that, because it touched on a lot of different anxiety things that I needed to hear. But my quote was, trying to think of how I want to word it. I've said it a lot and I've posted it a lot, but you can't be overwhelmed with the amount of food on your plate when your goal is to eat. And I feel like that fits perfect for me, and something I think about a lot when I start to get anxiety is a lot of my anxiety comes from the amount of stuff that I have to do, the amount of things that I put on my schedule, the amount of people I've told I'll do this with you, we'll do this, we're gonna do this, or I have this that I want to do, or I have this that I want to accomplish, or this person I want to go see, or this event I want to play in. Like, so many of these things I want to do that are up and coming that I haven't done yet, and so I get anxious thinking about it. I get anxious thinking about the future. I get anxious thinking about what could happen, what will happen, will I ever get to do this, will this ever happen, is this even the right thing I'm doing, like, you know what I mean, am I even in the right place? And so that was my quote, was, you can't complain about having so much on your plate, and you can't be overwhelmed when your goal is to eat. And so that's always been my goal. I was telling Zach Cohen today whenever we were sitting outside of Wiffle Boys, like, my goal has always been to be the best possible version of myself that I can be, and put as much on my plate as I can at a young age. That way, as I get older, I can just relax. And so I think that I've just put so much anxiety on myself. And shout out Mama Vega showing up today and kind of giving me a hug and calming me down and everything. She was God sent, kind of heaven sent at the time that I needed it. But all of that was so good. And, anxiety is something that everybody goes through, and sometimes you describe it as something else, or you describe it as, depression, or you describe it as something than what it actually is, when really it's just ADHD or anxiety or both, and we all go through it. And I guess the thing I'll end with, unless you have anything else to say, was I saw something on a podcast talking about how you can't be anxious and grateful at the same time. And so I'm very grateful that, that I have people like Ben and Braden that I can just show up to work and hang out with them whenever I need to not be alone. People like Zach who, sometimes he steps on my toes and I'm like, dude, I just need a little bit of space, but he shows up right when I need him anyway. And, he's there for me and talking me through things. And then people like Mama Vega stopping and saying something today. So they were heaven sent, and that's all I got to say. So,
well, we hope that if you guys ever need anything, shout us out, call us, text us. We want to talk to people. That's why we're doing this. We want to tell people about why we love this, and we want to tell people what we believe in. That's why we named this Believe Ball Become. We want to talk about what we believe in. Obviously, we want to talk some ball, but we want to talk about what we want to become as well. Like he said, he's aspiring to be great, whatever he does. And I feel the same way. We're both keep talking about how tired we are of just kind of, getting by, or, being part of the status quo. We want to change the world. We want to change lives. We want to make a real impact. Whether it's one person, 100 people, 1 million people, 1 billion people, we want to have an impact on somebody's lives. And so each and every day we keep waking up and trying to be the best we can. And we hope that in this podcast, you guys get to see that part of us. So with that being said, we want to talk to other people, because we want to talk to other people that are like us as well.
Yeah.
If you want to be on,
share your story.
Let us know. We want to hear your story. We want to hear your what you believe in, what you want to become, and what you've done so far. So shout out to anybody who's listened so far.
This is episode 14.
Episode 14, baby. We're getting them out. I'll get the rest of them out here soon. We're getting them all out on Spotify as well. So we'll start getting them out on all the different apps. We're going to start getting different social media, start clipping, doing
this is
shorts.
Our first time going live while we've been live the entire time. We've had
live chat.
We've had almost 6,000 likes. We've had, over 50 plus people join in.
That chat.
This has been, I've been live for over an hour, and I guarantee we've had multiple people pop in and out all live and leave comments and stuff. So,
hour and a half long podcast. Thank you for listening. This has been Believe Ball Become. Shout out. Deuces.